are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue. It is Friday, August 19th, and we have another episode of The Issue here for you. It's going to be a really good episode today. So we have our normal divisional predictions to get to. That'll be in the second segment. And then in the third segment, brand new segment to unveil in the world of sports betting. Okay, we've both now turned 21. It is legal for us to sports bet. The DraftKings app has already been downloaded.
FanDuel's a big one for me. MGM is okay. A little tougher to navigate personally. I have Barstool downloaded. Haven't set it up yet. Not sure. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea if it's any good or not.
We'll dabble in it throughout the season.
Yeah, we'll see.
Either way, we have that segment to unveil. Very excited about that. Got some good bets for you guys this week. But to start the show, it's going to be like normal. Tim's going to have his rant, and then we're going to get into hits and misses. That will be the first segment. And then, as I alluded, in the second segment will be NFC South predictions and superlatives. So we're going to go through that whole division, get Brady and the Bucs. A lot of fan bases to talk about, so that will be good. And then, like I said, the third segment is fully reserved for a little bit of betting and the new segment.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about the betting because, well, let's be honest. I don't really bet a whole lot of baseball. Don't bet a whole lot of other things like that. So my betting resume hasn't been so solid yet, personally.
Yes.
But
this is your opportunity
really
to build
good at betting football.
This is your opportunity to build it.
Solid at betting football.
Yes.
We were plus 500. We were 500 and above right on our bets last year.
Yes.
So that's solid, right? We like that.
I think we were at like 78% for all the games.
I mean, we love that. We love that.
So those are good odds.
If we can, keep that going, I don't see why we can't.
Absolutely.
You know what I might start doing to amp up our predictions when we do our game predictions back and forth? I might just go in and just throw bets on all those money lines. I mean, why not?
I mean, at least
at
something.
At the end of the day,
at least something.
Whether you win or I win, we still only miss like maybe one
or two
or like two or something like that.
But we're a fairly solid show of predictions.
We never go probably less than like 10 for 16.
We'd be making at least our money back.
Bare minimum.
Yes.
Bare minimum.
I like it. We'll implement
it's an idea.
It's something the listeners will probably like as well.
All right, so to segue, life's kind of all about like attitude, right? I've lived in some apartments, dorms, whatever, right? They might be dirty, small, whatever your issue might be, But it's all what you make it out to be. Right, a little elbow grease, do some cleaning, some decorations, hang a couple flags, put in the wall plugins, Febreze, whatever, smells fine, awesome, right? You're in business. You can kind of make what you want out of it, right? Same thing applies to me with the Steelers' first game. It's all about your attitude. If you went in thinking this is 100% Mitch Trubisky's job, and Mason and Kenny are just competing for a depth chart spot at number 2, then you probably left thinking, wow. Yeah, Mitch looked great. Mason was looked comfortable because he's been in the system. And, Kenny's good but developing, right? That's probably your takeaway if that was your mindset going in. Right, if you went in, however, thinking, oh my God, Kenny's got 40-plus college starts. He's familiar with the stadium, a little bit of the system, right? Because Matt Canada used to be at Pitt. Kind of familiar with the system, the stadium, the city, right? The fan base is pretty similar. You probably walked away thinking, Oh yeah. Kenny Pickett's the way to go. Week 1, 100%. He's going to be a Pro Bowler. It all depends on your attitude going in. I fall somewhere in the middle here. I think Mitch most likely is probably more ready now. If I need to win Week 1 through Week 3, Mitch is probably the better, the better guy to go with. He's going to win some games, right? But on the other hand, Kenny Pickett's, the guy who's going to be the future. He's the one who in a year or two, that's going to be the headline, right? It's not going to be in 2022 right now? 2024, it's not going to be, Mitch Trubisky hits George Pickens down the sidelines. It's going to be some sort of pun of like Pickett to Pickens. Like, you might want to pick these guys or something. It's going to be some weird pun. That's going to be the headline in 2024. Not Trubisky to Pickens. Kenny Pickett is going to be that guy in a couple years. Ideally, right? Ideally. He's the one who needs the development and the reps. Right? If I'm the Steelers, Here's my plan of attack. Start Mitch Trubisky until he has a bad game. I've been saying Pickett all along. But the more I start thinking about it, here's how it'll go, right? You'll start Trubisky until he has a bad game. I'm talking like sub 50 QBR, multiple picks, is pretty much the reason we lose the game, right? Not just because he had a bad game, right? He is like over 50% of the reason we lost the game, right? Defense played great. We were in the game. Najee rushed for 150. You're driving late. Dumb pick. Like that type of thing, right? That type of bad loss. Which, I mean, I like Mitch Trubisky, but that should be within the first, 4 to 5 weeks. Let's not act like he is a beast. I mean, he's good enough to win some. He's serviceable. That's like the all-time word for Mitch Trubisky. Serviceable. So he'll have a bad game within the first 4 to 5 weeks. Then turn it over to Kenny and don't even look back. All right, here's something interesting. Now, Joe Burrow is a significantly better quarterback, and I think he was a better prospect at the time. But to be fair, on the other end, he was the last quarterback to come out that was considered highly NFL ready. And then what happened? He had a tough first season that ended with him being the worst deep ball thrower in the league of any starter. The absolute worst deep ball passer in the entire NFL. And then he had a knee injury, which is a real tough way to end a rookie season, right? Would that help him do? Oh, I don't know, come back and be the best deep ball thrower in the game, led his team to a Super Bowl. I'm just saying. Now, granted, I don't want Kenny Pickett to tear an ACL, but so he goes through a couple bumps and bruises this year. So he throws a couple picks. So we win 7 games. I'd trade that for a Super Bowl appearance next year. I'd trade that right now. I'd make the deal. If someone pick up the phone right now, hey, 7 wins this year, Super Bowl appearance next year. Or even 6 wins. I'd be like, sign me up. That's sign on the dotted line. Right, I'd do it. I would do it. So it's all about what you went into that game thinking. Right? Me, as a guy who doesn't really get too high, doesn't get too low, stays even keel, right? I see it both sides. Seeing it both sides allows me to say, yeah, you know what, Mitch is okay. But at the end of the day, Kenny has to see the field. He's got to be the guy. He's got to be the guy eventually. And I think just waiting, right? The only it factor he has is that he's NFL ready. It's the only it factor. Yeah. And maybe that's the best one. Right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's not his arm. It's not his mobility. Maybe it's the fact that he's NFL ready. Let's use it. Let's do it. Right? He looked comfortable out there. He didn't look overwhelmed. Now, granted, it's the third string, but he looked like he belonged at least. Right? I think you got to stay even keel. Right? People are freaking out, guys. It's preseason. It's like the second or third string from Seattle, who's not even a good football team this season. Yeah. Right? So, deep breath. Right? Mitch right now is probably better. Is Kenny going to be better, and should it be turned over to him at some point? Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? That's my plan, right? I think I had a 3-step plan last time about Deshaun Watson. Here's the 3-step plan for the Steelers. Start Mitch Trubisky, wait for him to have a bad game and bench him, turn it over to Kenny, and don't look back. That's it. Sounds about good to me.
Yeah.
Do you see a hole in the plan?
No, I don't. I did have some thoughts coming out of that preseason game, though. So I, like most people, watched at least what I could. What I couldn't watch, I listened to on the radio. So I was still, consuming the game as it happened. All 3 quarterbacks played to the level that I think that they should have against a team like Seattle. You are playing backups. You're playing against third string. But you're also playing along backups and third string.
Right.
So the Steelers barely edged out Seattle. So I don't like all the hype where it's like, Steelers beat Seattle in a preseason game. They're winning it all. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. You barely edged out Seattle's third team. You had to win on a last-second touchdown, all right? By no means should you be celebrating about blowing them out. Never.
Which we didn't. It required a last-second touchdown.
Absolutely. But you have to give credit where credit's due. Kenny Pickett played really well. Yeah. I mean, he made really nice reads. We know how the game speeds up at the NFL level. I don't care what string you're playing against.
Oh, it's faster.
The game is faster. Yeah. It's a step up from college, and he seemed to handle it well. He threw 2 touchdowns, 13 for 15. That's a completion percentage that will more than get you by.
Right, and I know that Brady still has a really good deep ball, but does anybody remember how frustrating, as Pittsburgh fans, you have to remember, this has to be ingrained so far into your brain. Dink and dunk and dink and dunk and Edelman and White and Gronk
Timing
3 yards
routes.
and screen passes and slants and outs and ins and look routes. Dink and dunk and dink and dunk. And it was enraging. Mm-hmm. But it won Super Bowls.
And I think you have to also look at the Steelers as, look, we might not be, we're definitely not where they should be for quarterbacks this season, right?
Yeah.
But in a year or two, like you said, Kenny Pickett will develop and he will get better. The one thing that I love is the receiving core right now, I think, is at an all-time high. Maybe not all-time, but in the recent,
Right.
8-ish years.
Exactly what you need for a young quarterback.
You have George Pickens, you have Deontay Johnson, you have Chase Claypool, who I don't love, but he'll go make a good catch when you need him to.
He's a big guy down the field. I like it.
You have Pat Freiermuth, and
Najee's running the ball.
Najee in the backfield, and then not to mention Kevin Raiders looked really good recently too. So he had I know he had 2-ish catches.
Did he?
He didn't play for long in that preseason game, but he looked pretty good. So really any weapons that the Steelers can add are just going to help push up that young quarterback in Kenny Pickett. So I liked what I saw. They did what they should have done against Seattle.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I guess that transitions perfectly into hit number 1 here, because I've been saying this from almost maybe even last year, right? Like before he was even graduated college, right? Before he was even done with college, I was saying, his hit factor, I think, right, is his ability to be NFL ready. Well, it was preseason, but he looked calm, cool, collected, distributed the football on time and accurately.
Yep.
Looked pretty NFL ready to me. It looked like he was meant to be there, right? Which I think is a good sign. It's about all I'm looking for in the preseason. Do you feel like, you have yourself under control and that you should be there? You're not above your, skill grade. Do you belong there? And I think he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, miss number 1. I do hate preseason generally. I think it's a waste of time. But, this preseason's actually been getting some really good hype. It's been getting good ratings on TV.
People are ready for football.
It's actually been watchable. Yeah. I've been pleasantly surprised. It's been a fairly watchable product, which is totally, contradicting to what I've always said. I usually hate preseason. I think generally it's unwatchable. This year it was pretty good.
Well, I think...
Or has been pretty good, I guess.
I definitely agree. I think it's just another testament to what the NFL does as a business, right? I'm sure the ratings were low on preseason in years past. I know that they are going up, and it's because of the coverage of these young prospects right from draft day. Everybody wants to know how they're going to play. I saw and heard about more people that went to that first preseason game down at Acrisure than anywhere else.
I shudder when I hear it.
I know. I hate saying it, but we got to say it.
We're going to still call it Heinz Field. Okay.
Are we calling it Heinz Field?
I'm doing it. I don't care.
Okay.
I've yet to seriously actually call it Acrisure.
Every time we call it Heinz Field, we should just flash make the full screen and picture Heinz Field. Just from now on, just to rub it into the Acrisure's face, Michigan-based insurance company. Either way, we digress.
Ridiculous. Anyway, hit number 2. I've kind of always said, Baker's talented enough to be an NFL quarterback, but I just never got the hype of him being like a top 10 guy. Go back a year and a half, roughly year and a half. Our comment section was, well, the Baker hate is crazy. You're a Baker hater. He's the man. Yeah, he went from having the most commercials of any NFL quarterback to fighting and scratching tooth and nail to be a starter against Sam Darnold, who all of you hate, and he can barely beat him out. That take just aged fantastic for us. It makes me feel good.
It did.
It makes me feel really good.
Especially when you've been on the train for this long. Because how long ago that was about as long as we've had this podcast as we've been hating on Baker Mayfield.
Right, and so now I'm kind of torn. Do I hate on Baker because it's an easy thing to do, or do we keep hating on the Browns? Now, we could do both, but also, Baker hates the Browns too.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a double negative at that point.
Well, my point is, I think Baker would agree with some of the things we're saying about Cleveland.
Yeah, I think he would.
So I would hate to rip on him.
But I also think that he would disagree with a lot of things we say about him. But the things that we say about him are also very well warranted. Let's not forget that. Just because he's out of Cleveland now doesn't make him any less of a liability at the podium. Any of that stuff. He doesn't get along with teammates very well, so we haven't seen how he's gotten along with everybody down in Carolina. So
yeah, that's valid.
We'll give that time, but we'll revisit that.
Look, I think we could end up liking him.
Yeah, we could.
Honestly,
Baker, come on the show.
Maybe best case scenario is that he kills it in Carolina, and we can actually root for him.
Yeah. Okay. If they beat the Browns week 1,
I'm really hoping they do.
We'll find something good to say about them.
Well, it's
if
Jacoby
they beat them.
Brissett, so they should. We'll see. All right, miss number 2. I frequently say that the Steelers have and should have elevated their standards. Super Bowls, deep playoff runs. 12 wins a year at least. It appears to, that's turned to an unreal hype over Kenny Pickett beating the Seahawks third string. He better. That's all I have to say. Like, he better beat them. I mean, he's in division with the Raiders, Myles Garrett, and an improving Bengals defense. I would hope that you can beat the Seahawks third string.
Yeah.
Right? The standard is a lot higher here, guys. Like, come on. Like, let's get over that. All right, let's get over week 1 preseason freaking out. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
All right, hit number 3. I recommended drafting Malik Willis, I will say. Now, this has been a pretty pro Kenny Pickett show for the first, 14 minutes. I have no idea. I don't have my watch on today. It's on, but I don't have the timer going. Total guess. Who knows? Yeah. We'll just go with 14. Anyway, I recommended drafting Malik Willis. Take it slow, let him develop into an absolute dog. It's only one start, and so it's preseason. So I'm not going to overreact. Like I said, I don't put a lot of weight on preseason. But good Lord, did he look dynamic. If you can make grown men look dumb, I'm in. Right, I'm in. Like Josh Allen, week 1, made NFL starters, like 10-year guys, just look stupid. Yeah. Just look not even athletic. And Malik Willis has a little bit of that to him, and it's fun. It's interesting to watch.
It is. He looked really good. And they definitely got a good one. And I think this could be something where in a couple of years you look back at like the Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis being drafted in the same class and be like, ooh. But you don't know which one it's going to be yet. Both of them are showing flashes.
To me, not that I don't think Malik Willis is Herbert and I don't think Kenny Pickett is Tua. But the fact that Tua was drafted before, Justin Herbert.
They do share some similarities.
Right, Tua's kind of limited, Pickett's a little bit limited, right? Kind of both have the whole accuracy and maturity thing. Like, that's kind of what they have going for them.
Yeah.
But then it's Herbert and Malik Willis, who are just physical freaks in nature. Right? It's fair. Miss number 3. I like the Padres getting Soto and Bell, but haven't been great since then. And now Fernando Tatis is suspended for 80 games.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, they can't seem to beat, the Dodgers if their franchise depended on it. They lost, 19 of the last 21 or something like that, 17 of the last 19.
Not great.
It's been quite ridiculous for the Padres. And they got a much better manager. So I don't know, and the front office seems to be doing the right thing, pouring money into the team, right? That's kind of what baseball's turned into, is just pour money, throw money at it, and get a bunch of talent and win. I don't get it. Soto's slugging. Josh Bell hasn't been too bad, yet they just can't put it all together. I think they need one more really good pitcher.
I was going to say they need a bullpen guy, a really good bullpen guy that they can actually rely on, especially those mid innings where you start. Especially this time of the year is tough because you've been through so many innings of baseball. You're getting out to mid to end August now, and you just need kind of some fresh arms to go. So if you could trade for somebody or get somebody fresh in that organization that's going to go out there and chuck for 2 to 3 innings a game. They need a nice middleman there.
That'd be nice.
But,
well, that wraps up hits and misses.
Yeah.
And basically wraps up segment 1. When we come back, segment 2, we'll have the NFC South predictions, Tampa and all them, because that's basically what it is, Tampa and then a tire fire. And we'll have the superlatives for that, too. We got MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Breakout Player, and Coach of the Year, so don't go anywhere. All right, guys, we are back. Segment number 2 on a Friday. August is flying by. NFL season is rapidly approaching. I think we have about 2.5, 3 weeks left.
Yeah,
it's about 3 weeks.
About 3. That's it.
Oh, let's go.
Because September 8th is NFL kickoff on Thursday night.
Right, I'm fired up.
Ugh.
I really am. I've been excited to watch preseason football, which is rare For me, I think preseason is generally pretty unwatchable.
Yeah.
And here we are. And I'm excited about preseason, so I can only imagine regular season. It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be fantastic. Especially, I've been getting excited about these bets that we're going to be unveiling in the third segment here today.
Yeah.
Also, just show news. Don't know how it slipped our minds in the intro there, but this is the last Friday episode. So next week will be the first week of Thursday releases. Okay, so you're going to be getting everything a day earlier, which is going to be perfect for the schedule of the NFL. We'll be able to get those episodes out Thursday morning so that you have the predictions for Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. You also review Thursday, Sunday, and Monday at the same time once we get into the season. Show will adapt, and we are excited for what we have to roll out. So keep listening, follow, subscribe, support the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we really do.
And without further ado, let's go. We have the NFC South predictions today. All right, so the division, we got the Bucs, we got the Saints, the Panthers and the Falcons, all from the NFC South, all predicted here for you today. So let's go.
I mean, you kind of have to start with Atlanta at 3-14. First of all, I don't know who's going to play quarterback. Probably Mariota, but I mean, Ritter's looked pretty decent. But either way, no matter what, I think you have the fourth best quarterback in your division right now.
Yeah.
You're either going to start a second or third. No. Yeah, like a second round quarterback in Ritter, or you're going to start Mariota, who I think is a really low end starter, anywhere from like 24th best to worst, right? Anywhere from the 24 to 32 range. So I don't love that. And whoever it is going to be running for their life. They don't have a good offensive line. I think the defense outside of Grady Jarrett and A.J. Terrell is pretty disappointing. There's not a whole lot to clap your hands about there. So I think 3-14 feels about right for them.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be up there with like a Chicago, a Seattle, and a Giants team. Like they should be drafting within the top 5 this coming season.
Yes, I mean I don't see anything other than that for Atlanta, and we as a show will stick to our guns. We're not going to bet Atlanta at all this year. That's a team that you stay far away from unless it's them being beat by like 14 points, and you're like, oh, well, there you go. Bet them minus 14, but
plus 14, but yeah.
Or no, because you wouldn't bet them to cover that. I'm saying
no, but I bet them to cover a 14-point spread. That means that all they do is lose by 13.
Yeah, and then you know what would happen.
They lose
it's
by
Atlanta.
14.
That's why you never bet them.
Whatever.
But the Falcons at 3-14, it's kind of perfectly fit in there. I mean, they've been living at the bottom of the division. Nothing changes this year.
All right, well, let's go with third place, Carolina. So I mean, do I think they could compete with New Orleans? Yes, right. But who knows who's going to play quarterback? And I think whether it's Darnold or whether it's Baker, you're not in a great spot, right? I think you're going to go into you're going to go into about 13 or 14 football games where you have the worst quarterback.
Oh, easily
of the two, right? Yeah. So that's not a good spot to be in. And I don't really trust Matt Rule. The weapons are decent, but the O-line is bad, and we know what happens when Baker doesn't have a really good offensive line. When people are hurt, he's not super mobile. Thinks he's a little faster than he is. He doesn't get outside the pocket very well.
And we know what happens with C-Mac when the offensive line isn't as great as it is. He gets hit. He gets stuck a lot at the line of scrimmage. And he's very injury prone. Yeah.
Right. And I think the defense will keep them competitive in a couple games, but I don't trust Baker down the stretch with a bad offensive line. I just don't. And I don't trust Matt Rule down the stretch either. So I think they have a chance to be near the Saints, but I don't think the culture is quite there with New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's why they land at 3 at 6-11. All right, number 2 in the division. Let's go with the Saints at 7-10. I think they could get to 8-9. First of all, they have a tough schedule. Like they did not get any favors with their schedule, so they're going to need some upsets.
Really yeah.
I already predicted like 1 or 2 just to get them to 7-10. I think they're going to need another couple if they want to get anything better than that. But I mean, if Jameis is the first 3 games, Jameis Winston last year, who was like a 120 QBR, right, had no picks, like 6 touchdowns, no picks, averaging like 200 yards a game.
Yeah.
They have a chance to go 9-8 and compete for a wild card spot. But here's the issue: that puts a lot on Jameis Winston. And have I ever seen that for a full season? And can I rely on him for a full season?
No, we've never seen evidence to back that up.
Right. So I think he'll be good for 6-7 games, and that would be reflect in the win losses there.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing with New Orleans, I think 9-8 is the best you're going to get. That's the ceiling, the absolute ceiling, and sneaking into the wild card spot, like you said. don't expect like a big pop from them. That's not one of the teams that I would be eyeballing. We have them, and let's not forget they are in literal cap hell for
that's not
how
great.
long now?
Yeah,
so,
they're going to be in it for probably another year.
So it wasn't a great job to take in the first place with the coaching vacancy. They have a lot of question marks. One at quarterback, but it's a big one at quarterback.
Big one at quarterback. And what do I know? Do I know what I'm getting from Michael Thomas?
No.
And especially even if I do know that he's playing, who outside of him is going to make plays for me?
They have nobody that's really even remotely consistent on the weapons in the receiving core.
Like none of them, nobody in the receiving core has popped yet. And do I expect them to pop now under a defensive head coach as opposed to popping last year with Sean Payton?
Yeah.
Like I don't.
In an old, outdated system.
Where like I'm not sure anybody like is going to get better from last year. I just don't. All right, let's go with the Buccaneers at number 1. I don't think they're going to be quite as good as everyone might think. I think 11-6 feels about right. But I think they took a slight step down just overall as a team, right? They lost key piece on the offensive line, Kappa, Marpet, and now their center Ryan Jensen's out for the season. Marpet retired. Kappa went to the Bengals in free agency. Good upgrade for them. But they have injuries at the wide receivers. Chris Godwin's coming off an injury. Who knows how good he'll be. Mike Evans just got dinged up a little bit in camp. Is he going to be 100%? And when you go into a season not 100%, really hard to play your way into 100%. If you are hurt, you kind of stay hurt in the NFL. Maybe not hurt enough to not play, but not 100%. They're a little bit thin at DB for my liking. I like the top 1 or 2 guys. Outside of that, I think you could shred them, which doesn't line up very well for the top people at the top of the NFC.
Yeah.
Right, so you look at
Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp.
Right, Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Van Jefferson. So Van Jefferson is significantly better than your third best guy.
Yes.
You're torched. Right, I think it's the same thing even if they play Minnesota. I think you're looking at Thielen, Jefferson, Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. Their tight end, Irv Smith, right? Yeah. They just got weapons all over the place.
You're right.
Their third best option is better than your third best coverage guy. So I think that's a weakness that is tough in the NFC. Even Philly has Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor. We'll see if he, rumors are he's gotten a lot better. Yeah. A.J. Brown obviously is the best on that staff. They have like 3 or 4 running backs, right? It's not a great position and a great unit to be like thin and not very good at.
I agree, but let's also look at it from the flip side though. The one thing that they have that nobody else has is Tom Brady.
Right, Tom Brady.
And we know that he can elevate the level of his receivers around him. He's done it for years.
Right, I agree. And I mean, they have a solid defense. They have good enough weapons.
Yeah.
I just worry about the top couple. But I mean, they're pretty deep with weapons. They got a solid defense. It'll be around average, maybe a little bit above average in the pack. I mean, you still do have Tom Brady.
Definitely enough to lead this division.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're in a very weak division.
And also 11-6. That's probably good enough for like the second seed, in the NFC, maybe third. But still, like you could be hosting a playoff game with that.
Yeah, easily.
Well, we'll run back through it. We have the Bucs at top at 11-6, followed by the Saints at 7-10, Carolina at 6-11, and Atlanta at 3-14 for the NFC South.
Fighting their way, huh?
I don't see Atlanta being very good.
They're gonna have to battle for a lot of years, man.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening anytime soon, really.
Well, hopefully they get a good quarterback next year, turn it around. But let's get into the NFC South superlatives. We got MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Breakout, Coach of the Year.
I like the ones in this division. We have kind of for the first time. Not for the first time. We have a lot of variety in this division. Between positions, we got a quarterback, we got a running back, a
defensive lineman, an edge rusher.
Yeah, and then kind of a surprise for coach, but not really once you start to think about it.
Yeah, whenever you say it out loud, right?
Yeah,
but still, whatever.
So let's go.
All right, MVP. Let's go with Tom Brady. I mean, who else would it be? Without Tom Brady, that roster's somewhere around where Carolina. Probably better. It's better than Carolina, but probably somewhere around the Saints, right? Maybe fighting to get 500 without Tom. With Tom, even going 11-6, whatever, 12-5, maybe he's still a shot in the playoffs, right? This team can make a playoff run as long as Tom Brady's there. He's still a really accurate distributor of the football. His arm's almost never been better. It cuts through the Tampa air really well. I expect him to take a slight step down. I'm not sure if he's 100% committed, right? He at one point was retired, but nonetheless, when he's on your team, you have a chance.
Yes.
And I think without him, you don't. And, I mean, there's nobody else in this division who is as valuable and impacts winning as much as Tom Brady.
I 100% agree. The thing he can bring is the knowledge aspect to the game, too. I mean, the amount of different defenses he's had to play against, the different reads he's had to make, he's just has a wealth of experience and knowledge. Right. So just that alone and a weaker receiving core, especially as you go deeper into the depth chart,
right?
That kind of stuff is really going to propel you. Just on simple timing routes, adjustments that he makes at the line, he is he really mixes it up on his own, away from
what the coaching staff might do.
Yeah, we saw why. Maybe that might have been the reason for a coaching change.
Yeah, because him and Arians weren't the best of friends. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Offensive Player of the Year. Let's go with Alvin Kamara. So he was looking at maybe facing a suspension this season for some problematic behavior in Vegas, we'll say. Or is that Vegas? Or somewhere with the Pro Bowl, wherever that was at. Is that Vegas?
Was it New Orleans?
No, it was not in New Orleans. I don't remember where it was. Maybe Hawaii. I don't know. Whatever. But turns out, rumor has it, or reports, I guess, have it, that he won't face suspension this year. So granted, he plays, I don't know, we'll say 15 games. We'll give him a couple games. Maybe he's banged up, right? I think he's the Offensive Player of the Year this year. I mean, we were thinking about C-Mac, but I actually don't trust C-Mac to even get to 10 games. I don't. What evidence do I have? I have one, maybe 2 good years evidence of him being able to do that.
There's no evidence of him staying healthy. No.
I think Kamara can, and if Michael Thomas, who knows with him? I haven't heard about Michael Thomas in forever.
Oh.
He was really, really noisy, made a bunch of noise, left the team, took a year off, was kind of hurt, kind of not hurt, was kind of for personal reasons, but he was also kind of dinged up, and then haven't heard from him since. I don't know what's going on with him, but assuming that, I mean, even if he comes back, he'll be rusty. I think Kamara is going to be the number one target, obviously on the ground and in the air. Yes. I think he's going to get a bunch of looks. Offensive Player of the Year, Alvin Kamara.
Also, don't be afraid to draft him first in any fantasy stuff. If you're the kind of guy that goes after running backs first and real early, he's probably one of the top 2 or 3 that I would take.
I think I drafted him either 2nd or 3rd last year. It worked out pretty well until he got hurt, unfortunately, but whatever. All right, Defensive Player of the Year. Let's go with Cam Jordan. I think he's going to have a really, really good year. That's just a hunch, I'm going to be honest with you. Plus, this division isn't necessarily loaded. I think like Marshawn Lattimore, Devin White, and that was about it. Were other candidates, maybe Brian Burns, but we'll get to him.
Yeah.
I think Cam Jordan's the most proven guy on the defensive side of the football in this division. He gets the passer. He's consistently like a 15-sack-a-year guy.
Yes.
I think he'll get about 18.5 this year. I think he's going to be a menace.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's not a lot of great offensive line play in this division. So he's going to have a fairly easier time getting after quarterbacks.
For 6 games, yeah, he should.
Yes, 100%. And he's the guy that really is the wrecking force on that defense and gets most of everything generated.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's go with breakout. I think Brian Burns, right? So he kind of broke out a little bit last year. I think he's going to break out to the point where he's a household name, like a top 5 edge rusher. He's already probably in the conversation about top 12 to 15, which I think is respectable for him. I think he's going into his 2nd or 3rd year, I believe. That's a respectable-ish area.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think he's going to be a dog.
It's still a lot of time to progress.
Yeah. I think like a 17-sack guy is going to be, somewhere up there within the top 3 in sacks for edge rushers. I think he's going to become a bit of a household name. So Brian Burns is breakout. And finally, our last category, Todd Bowles. So at the end of the day, I don't love Todd Bowles, the head coach. First of all, he's defensive. It was a disaster in New York. Do I think he's a good football coach? Yes. Do I think he's a really good head coach? Probably not. Right? Whether Arians or Brady, I don't care who fired who or if Tom had impact on this or that. It's in the past. I don't care anymore. But, I mean, you can't really deny that Arians is a better football coach than Todd Bowles. So you're going to take a slight step down. But now to the good part of it, because he's coach of the year in this division, I should probably say some good things about him. I do think he's going to make the defense a lot better. He's already the defensive coordinator, so he's going to keep having a hand in the defense. If it makes Brady happier, then, I mean, whatever, you got to do what you got to do. And at the end of the day, no other team we have predicted above 500. How am I going to give any other coach the coach of the year if you don't even make 500?
You can't.
Oh, Matt Rule, here's coach of the year for 6 wins.
With Baker?
With Baker? Like, come on. Or like the Saints, like 7 wins, dude. Like
No.
you need to show me something.
And I think,
And so if Todd Bowles the only one above 500, it's almost a no-brainer.
and the crazy part is just how much of an influence Tom Brady has on the game. How much of an influence does he have on Todd Bowles being the coach of the year of this division? I'd say a lot. Without
Probably
Brady,
75%.
you have
the other 25
very
is that the
little
other
chance.
coaches, like the other teams, aren't good.
Yeah, that's it. So, just yet again another just piece of evidence that points at the greatness that is Tom Brady. Yeah, but to run back through it, we have the MVP, Tom Brady, Offensive Player of the Year, Alvin Kamara, the Defensive Player of the Year, Cam Jordan. Breaking out, we have Brian Burns, and the Coach of the Division, Todd Bowles.
Sounds about right to me. I don't know. I said we get into some betting next segment, so please don't go anywhere. Come back to hear some betting. We got a couple, preseason lines. If you're into some little bit of a degenerate betting, might I say?
I'm excited for it. I mean, I already have my money placed on it.
Don't know. Maybe I'll place one as well. I don't know. We'll see you guys next segment.
What's up? Welcome back in on a Friday. Wow. Third segment on a Friday. And it is time to unveil a new segment on the show. We've been thinking a lot about starting a betting segment. We wanted to wait until the NFL was going to, come back into season before we rolled that out because NFL betting is what we do best.
Right.
So this is going to be called Bets on a Budget. Okay, so it's basically it's not for, we're not going to be throwing $500, $600 down every week.
Yeah, and we're not like, I went to Vegas and threw, 40 G's on some obscure team to win the Super Bowl. And throw 40 G's on the Lions to win the Super Bowl this year. That just doesn't make sense. That is not.
It's very practical betting.
That's above my pay grade. That is.
We'll have 50 to $70 usually a week where we're going to throw some money around on some games. Should be interesting. So we're going to be giving you the top 5, top 6 bets of the week, whatever they may be, and we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to bet on the games ourselves, and we're going to win some money, and if you listen to us, you're going to win some money. So, I'm very excited to get going with this today.
And we figured the NFL has a preseason. Why can't we get a preseason with some betting?
Exactly.
So we're gonna almost warm up a little bit. We have 3 preseason bets for I think this Saturday. I mean, just at any point in the weekend. I think there's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games.
Yeah.
I forget what day these are on. It doesn't matter, but as long as you place it probably Friday morning just to be safe, then you'd be in business. But 3 preseason bets, and then we're kind of just going to go through week 1, the week 1 lines, and just kind of get the juices flowing, walk you through a little bit of what I would be thinking of when I'm looking at bets.
Kick around some ideas of what we're going to pick.
Yeah, just kind of, for lack of a better term, and keep it PG, just BS about some week 1 betting lines, maybe some money lines, over-unders a little bit.
We'll give you guys an insight to how we do it.
Yeah.
But let's get going with bets. Bets
on a budget.
Bets on a budget.
Sorry, we're still warming up. I told you.
Already messing up the name, so
that's fine. It's fine. It's kind of catchy though. Anyway,
Bets on a budget.
Number 1, the Cleveland money line against the Eagles this weekend. So they're plus 120. I think they overall have a better roster. Now, slightly, I think the Eagles still have a pretty good roster. Granted, who knows how many starters are playing. But I think the Cleveland probably has a little bit of a deeper roster. But plus, at the end of the day, do I trust Kevin Stefanski or Nick Sirianni? I'd probably lean Kevin Stefanski as of right now.
Yes.
And the Eagles are 2-10-1 in their last 13 preseason games. So everything for me, I think Cleveland's at home. Again, not that it matters too much, but it does a little bit.
It does.
So kind of everything for me is pointing to Cleveland winning this football game. And people are like, well, Jalen Hurts is probably going to play, and Deshaun obviously isn't. And, Cleveland's kind of basically got a backup going. Yeah, for a series or two.
It's not
Jalen's going to play a series or two.
Yeah, Jalen's not even taking a quarter.
Yeah, he might get to a quarter depending on how the game plays out. But at the end of the day, it's going to be all second, third, maybe even fourth string guys. So I'll take Cleveland plus 120 on the money line this weekend.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's definitely one of the best ones we could find. I'm gonna probably throw some on that. I might parlay something with that one.
Yeah, you could. I mean, we got 2 more bets.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with the Steelers. Plus 3.5 against the Jaguars, or They're I think a plus 165 on FanDuel, a 155 on DraftKings.
155, yeah.
I'd probably get it as soon as you can. First of all, they're a better organization, which means they probably have better depth. I think they have better depth. What tells me this tells me that they think Trevor Lawrence in his first, he'll probably play 2 series, maybe 3, is going to just light it up and be a contributor to a win. I don't see that being the case. Maybe even if he scores a touchdown, I wouldn't put that past Mitch to score a touchdown either.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
or for God's sakes, Mason Rudolph.
I mean Mason Rudolph threw a touchdown. Kenny threw 2, right?
Yeah.
So Kenny threw 2, right?
Kenny threw 2.
Yeah, right. Kenny threw 2. So, I think the Steelers are going to win. I'd probably lean more money line because I think you probably make a little bit more off the money line, and then you don't have to worry about the 3.5 because then you could get caught by the hook. The good old 3.5.
Yeah.
They win, or I guess they lose by like 4. Right, a popular score. If you kick a field goal and they have the touchdown, right, they're up by 4. Right, so you could get caught by it, but I'd definitely go money line. Think about the spread, but I think the Steelers are the play. I think that's the right side of this bet.
Yeah.
And if you can get it on FanDuel at plus 165, I'd go for that on the money line.
Yeah, well, that's where my money's at. I have my money on DraftKings though, and I have this one as a same game parlay bet. So I have the Steelers money line and the Steelers spread.
Well, there you go.
So, I mean, nothing crazy, but
It just ups the payout. So
helps the ante a little bit.
yeah, absolutely. So actually, quick little side story here. I was doing a baseball same game parlay, right? So this is on FanDuel. This was like a couple months ago, right? So it's the Buccos at the Rays. I go a hit for O'Neal Cruz, a hit for Bly Madris, RBI for Randy Arozarena, and the first half of the game score to be tied. Right? It's 1-1 or 2-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Through 4.5. The 9-inning game. That's half the game. Well, evidently FanDuel thinks half the game is after 5 complete. So it's tied after 4.5, and the Rays score a run on the bottom of the 5th. I lose my bet. It was like 20 to win like $2,300. Like sick to my stomach.
That hurts.
Like absolutely
That
sick.
hurts. That hurts.
Like sick.
Yeah.
Or like that just like hurts. I will never forget that bet. Ever.
That's
like
one.
I will be able to recite exactly what. Oh, by the way, all 3 legs hit. I don't know. I didn't even say that. The first 3 hit. The only thing that needed was that first half score. It hurt like to my very core.
That'll leave a sour taste for a long time.
It's upsetting. I'll never forget that. I'll be able to recite exactly what I bet.
Well, you need a comeback bet this year then. So
Yeah. All right. Well, number 3 on our list of, we'll call them D-Gen preseason lines, right? Who bets preseason games? I'm sorry. Like, I'm with you guys, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
we're
calling
doing it.
out anybody because I'm right there with you.
we're doing it too.
Kind of degenerative bettors right now. But it's only a little bit of money, so it's not too bad.
No, it's
right?
not.
That's why it's bets on a budget.
It's responsible.
It's
D-Gen betting.
responsible. That's fantastic marketing right there.
Bets on a budget.
So let's go with the Bengals plus 5.5 against the spread. I think they're playing the Giants, and they're plus 205 on the money line. First off, I know it's preseason, so these guys, probably aren't playing. They're not throwing in the cream of the crop guys, right? They're not throwing in a lot of the first strings, maybe Daniel Jones.
Sure.
But if you even consider him a first-string quarterback, I don't think he's a starting quarterback in this league, but, for preseason, I guess. So I think because of that, I think coaching really matters here. Right now, I think right now, Zach Taylor's probably a better coach than Brian Dable. And is it crazy to think that whoever's playing backup for the Bengals is at least on the same level as Daniel Jones?
No.
I don't think it's crazy to say.
No,
and at plus 5.5, that's a steal.
Well, we've always equated Daniel Jones to being like almost backup caliber. Almost every single time we've talked about him, he hasn't really done much in New York. So no, I could totally see a backup kind of playing to his level, if not even above, if we get one of those guys that wants to pop this year.
I agree. I agree. Those are our 3 bets. You can see them right here. We got Cleveland on the money line against the Eagles. We got the Steelers, spread or money line. I'd probably lean money line, just because the hook. I'm not super comfortable with that. And I'd go probably Bengals plus 5.5. Against the spread there, playing the Giants.
Yes. All very good bets.
Yeah.
I got my money on some, so I'll probably put some more on some others as well. And
right.
Just, getting warmed up for this NFL season of betting. It's going to be a good one. And
right.
We need some practice as well. Dust the rust off a little bit.
Absolutely. So let's run through a couple of these week 1 games. So what happens in week 1 is Vegas hasn't really adjusted to how good these teams are yet, right? We haven't seen them. We don't have any evidence of what they are at home, on the road, right? We don't have any thing to go off of, or I guess not we, Vegas, right?
Yes.
So you see a lot of inflated lines, right? For example, the 49ers going on the road favored by 6.5 in Chicago. I think Trey Lance is just as good as the next guy, but I mean, 6.5 points on the road
against an NFL team. I mean,
and I will say the Bears, they're pretty underwhelming, but if any unit is good, it's their defense.
Yes.
And they're going to go against a basically rookie quarterback in Trey Lance. Like 6.5 points is a lot of points to swallow.
It is.
Like for me, I don't even like the Bears, but you almost have to go with the Bears plus 6.5.
You do. You have to kind of trust them a little bit to be a competent NFL team there, because
and they don't know how bad they are yet. It's just week 1. They don't get it. It hasn't registered.
And you don't know how good Trey Lance is either. Is the thing. So that's I guess kind of a good thing about early season NFL betting. It can be a good thing, is that there's not a lot of intel on these teams and the new rosters yet. So you do have the chance to steal a couple.
You can get lucky a little bit.
Week 1, week 2-ish.
Yeah.
That the line kind of favors you a little bit.
Right.
But this is just one where you don't typically see an NFL team lose by 6.5, 7 points on, especially at home.
Right.
Even the over/under on that game is 42. I'm going under all day on that. I feel like that 42 is a lot of points for week 1.
I'm looking up something for the next bet. You can keep going.
But I mean, that's the other one. Oh, where was it? We were talking about it right before we started.
Well, I'm looking up the Steelers one. So
the Steelers and Bengals. So the Bengals are a 6.5 point favorite, and the over/under on that one's 44.5, which is also pretty high, I would think. I don't see the Steelers offense scoring like so many points to the point where it gets to the Bengals pushing that over 44.5.
That's a tough stat to try to find. So I was looking for with the record of the whoever lost the Super Bowl, what their week 1 record is. That's a tough stat to find. I didn't find it because we're just kind of going off the cuff here, but there is a Super Bowl hangover, especially when you lose the Super Bowl. I think 6.5 week 1 that is steep.
It's very steep.
For a division game.
Yeah.
The Steelers are a very competent football team.
With a great pass rush.
Great defense. Like a really, really good defense.
So
they're going to be able to run the football a little bit this year. They add a couple good weapons. I don't see... I mean, say that's a lot of points to absorb week 1.
It is.
That's a lot. And here's the thing. I think the Bengals are about on the same level as the Niners, maybe a little bit better because they have a more proven quarterback. And the Bears are significantly worse than the Steelers. So if I feel comfortable enough to take the Bears, I feel really comfortable taking the Steelers.
Here's what
I'm in my head building the same, not the same game, but I'm building a parlay right now.
Right.
Bears, Steelers. The other one that jumps out to me is the Texans plus 8.
The Texans plus 8, but I almost wouldn't touch that one because the Houston is so bad.
I mean, Houston's bad. Are they really 8 points worse in week 1 than the Colts?
I don't know.
New quarterback going into a new system.
Right, but it's Matt Ryan going into a better system than he's ever had in Atlanta.
Hey, that's a fair point.
So I mean, we don't know. It could be a blowout. I mean,
yeah.
And we just talked about how we don't like these big lines, but this is just one of them. I mean, there's a select maybe 2-ish teams in the league where you see a spread like this, and you're like, I could see them losing by that much.
But again, but the Bears I can see losing by that much, but I just feel like week 1, unproven quarterback. Now, granted, Matt Ryan's not unproven, but that's too many points for the Bears. I just feel like that's too many for the Texans. The average NFL game is decided by 3 points or fewer.
I know, but think about that roster. That roster is so bad.
But, okay, first of all, their line is at least decent at run blocking. I think it was top half of the league. It was like 15 or 16, more than like 1 or 2. But they can at least run block a little bit. They have some guys in the backfield. And Davis Mills actually was probably the best rookie quarterback last year outside of Mac Jones.
I might take Colts -8 on that. That might be one
That's
where
bold.
we want to.
That's bold. I don't think it's crazy though either.
That's something I think could win some money. I mean, either way, I mean your odds on the money line in the Colts, you're barely gonna make $1.
I don't think it's crazy. I think the only other thing that jumps out to me right now is the Broncos -4.5 against Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Seattle's bad. Seattle's a bad football team.
Yeah.
The only thing that gives me a little bit of hope is they're at home. The Seahawks are.
So you would bet the Seahawks plus
no,
4.5, or
no,
would bet
I'm taking the Broncos
minus
-4.5. I think they win by probably a touchdown.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
I think you could basically lock in Steelers and Bears. Like those are good bets. Both at plus 6.5.
I like the Steelers and the Bears, and then I would take
the Texans. You said the Colts.
So then, what would you think about the Ravens at a -6 over the Jets in New York?
Well, so the Jets are probably going to start like a Joe Flacco because Wilson's going to be hurt.
Yeah.
Not that Zach Wilson's that much better than Joe Flacco.
So
but
do
I mean,
you like the Ravens -6 there?
Right. Yeah, he's certainly not dynamic enough to go, or well, I guess at home to beat his former team. I don't think so. I'd probably take the Ravens. I probably wouldn't touch it, but if I had to, I'd go Ravens.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, like you said, the division, that's such a big spread for Pittsburgh and Cincinnati.
That's kind of
especially
ridiculous
for a divisional game. Like, you look at what a divisional game should look like. The Raiders at Chargers, -3.5.
-3.5, absolutely. Yeah,
Like,
that to me
that's
makes
very
sense.
fair. Or you scroll a little bit more. The Packers at the Vikings, -2. That's a
Right.
divisional game spread.
That's another one I'd think about taking the Vikings, either on the spread or on the money line.
I would
think
take
the
Vikings
win.
on the money line.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think they win by a point though, so I might as well just take them on the spread. You could probably get better odds.
Yeah, or you parlay it.
You're a parlay animal.
This is gonna get dangerous. But is that all we have? Those are all the bets?
That is indeed all we have.
All right, guys, that is all we have for the episode today. Thanks for stopping in. We have another week of progress towards the NFL season. We are getting very close, and we thank you for jumping along with us and following all the stories, everything that we put out here. So go to the social media. Our Instagram is at @the_issue podcast. TikTok is the issue_podcast. It's been going really well recently.
Like and comment. We'll respond most of the time.
Yeah.
If you want to have a heated chat, let's do it. If you want to have a cordial chat, we're in for that too. So just stop by and comment. We appreciate it, even if you're ripping us.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. And that was The Issue.